Now, we have child molesters who don't see inside a cell for one day. She got 31 months. So the idea that that wasn't political is absurd. The pushback on that has been huge, though, and hopefully, we're getting somewhere with that. But
how comfortable are you as an interviewer, and in this case as an interviewee, saying whatever you want to say right now? Because we know about all of the laws around free speech and people being, arrested literally for tweets and that stuff. So let's start with that, and then we can dive into the specific issues. Do you feel the need to censor yourself in any way throughout this conversation?
I probably do, not necessarily because of the authorities, but that could happen. I feel I have to censor myself partly because I might get killed by people who live around here. So that's a part of it. And partly because you have to, you can't just be, I guess, extreme in some respects, because you won't be able to bring people with you, I think. The thing with the authorities...
Sure, but you're not extreme. I mean, I know you well enough to know you're not extreme. That's the point.
But I get angry. And I feel like I was angry after the synagogue attack a couple of days ago. At the time of recording, I was very angry. I have had interviewees afterwards, when we've been editing their stuff in the UK, say to me, hey, can you just cut this bit and that bit? Because new things have happened whereby police have turned up at people's doors and things like that. Generally, what tends to happen is that they spend the day in a cell or something, and then they leave, and it's a whole big thing. It's a big story. If that happened to me, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. So we're not yet at that point where I'm that scared about what I say. The person who got arrested for 31 months, that was Lucy Connolly, and she's among many. One of the problems was that they were advised by lawyers to plead guilty, that they would be fine, and then suddenly she got 2.5 years in prison. Now, we have child molesters who don't see inside a cell for one day. She got 31 months. So the idea that that wasn't political is absurd. The pushback on that has been huge, though, and hopefully, we're getting somewhere with that. But you're right to point that out. It is really scary. And I think we are, in Britain, a litmus test for you guys. Like, this is where you guys could end up. So you've got to watch what happens here, because we are going to a very scary place.
Right. Well, when I saw you back in February of this year, it was for Jordan Peterson's R conference. That's why I was in London. And then a few days after I saw you, I was at a dinner with about 20 people from the conference, many of our friends, and I don't need to name drop, but people who've been on my show.
I think I was there.
There were a couple. Oh, maybe you were at this. Maybe you were at this one. Oh, I think you were at this dinner. But one of the things that we were discussing was how all of us sort of felt we should not tweet exactly what we thought, because I had plenty of thoughts as I was walking down the streets of London, not feeling safe and blah, blah, blah. And it was the first time in my life, particularly as an American, that I was ever like, boy, maybe I just won't say what I think. I don't need to be, not that I was going to be arrested as an American, but I didn't want to be held up at the airport or whatever else might happen. And then, of course, several of the people there were British citizens.
Yeah. Well, you and I think you joked about that as well and said, can you release it once I'm back in the States?
Oh, right.
Yeah. But the fact that we're even at that point where that's semi-serious, it's like, it is scary. People have failed to, they've lost their understanding of the difference between, stopping violent crimes and just, having to put up with people saying things they don't like. And unfortunately, I'm happy to do that. I'm happy to, if I had a restaurant and the guys who are the most fervent lefty lunatics who I think are just insane, they came into my restaurant, I would serve them food. I'd hope they have a good time. I would speak to them politely and we'd probably have a good conversation. That unfortunately has been lost on the left across the world right now. So it's scary.
Okay, so putting a pin in the free speech portion of it, although I suspect it'll kind of frame everything we're doing here, broadly, and then we can connect this to the Manchester thing. I try to be careful when I talk about your country, because I really do think things are dire. And when I go back each year, for the last couple of years now, I've sensed that it's gotten worse each time. We see the videos about free speech. We see the Hamas rallies, all of the stuff. What level of alarm do you think we are at right now?
Maybe 10 out of 10. Maybe 10 out of 10.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's so much worse than anybody is willing to admit. And the issue, I mean, I know I guess I was a little bit, I didn't push that hard when you asked about, it was concern about free speech, right? That is a concern. It's a 6 out of 10, a 7 out of 10, maybe an 8 out of 10. The concern here for me is multiculturalism and what it's done to this country. And I think it's almost impossible for Americans to understand this without coming here. You did come here. But even like, I interviewed Ann Coulter recently, and she tried to say to me with a straight face that it was just as bad having Mexican immigration as what we're getting from Islamic countries. Now, I totally respect her point. Like, and I get it because I've been to the States and everything's in Spanish. Now I speak Spanish, so I'm fine with that. But then the beheadings and the mafia and all of that stuff, I get it. This is something this is medieval. What is happening to these are medieval, and what is going on in America is a similar culture. So, we have to take in a certain number of refugees, I suppose, but I don't know why they are not going to other countries with similar cultures. Well, I do know why, because it's about colonization and power. And so it's got to a point where I think it's irreversible. That's why I say 10 out of 10. And everybody's sitting around going, "Oh, stop the boats." Now, the boats is in reference. It's like your Trump wall,
right.
Don't let people are coming over from France and they're saying that they and it's mad because as if France was at war, like people had to leave France to get to England because they just prefer coming to England because they want to spread to England. So the stop the boats.
Well, soon enough, there will be legit refugees coming out of France. I mean, some of them. Well, the Jews of France are leaving, and they're all going to Israel. I mean,
yeah, well, they wouldn't come to the UK. That's
right.
That's, and where do you go? And I think about this all the time because Islam is spreading very fast throughout South America. It's spreading very fast through Africa. So if you want to go somewhere, I mean, I've said this before: Texas, Florida. These are the only people. Americans have a sense of nationalism that I think will do its best to stop this.